So let me know once you see my screen. Give me a second, I think. Okay. I'll just reshare it again. Okay, so is the screen visible? I hope it is visible to everyone.
Yes, it is visible. We can see the screen.
Okay. I'll give a little intro about me in case like someone is joining us new and had not attended the previous sessions. That's how I look now when I travel out for fun or with family. So I did my mechanical engineering in year 2000 from a college based out in India. I have been learning SolidWorks since 2005 when I started working as an application engineer with a reseller in India. And since past 19 years, I'm still learning SolidWorks, and there are a lot of things which I am exploring on daily basis. I'm a certified SolidWorks expert and a champion. I'm one of the recipient of Michelle Pillar's Slogan Community Award. I have been recently recognized as one of the SolidWorks superhero. And finally, I work as a design consultant with a company based in India called Vishnu Design Services. I'm the founder of this company, and we provide engineering service to a lot of users and companies throughout the world. We help them with their modeling, drafting, animation needs, and we also help them with their design automation needs. So we have been going through various drawing tools in previous 3 sessions, and we'll continue our journey with the drawing tools, and we'll be covering following tools today. I think some of the topics which we have selected for today were requested by the members in earlier sessions. So first one is the drawing tables. Then sorry, then we jump into the notes, and finally we'll look at the layers. So the first topic, as we discussed today, is a table. So basically, table is a grid of rows and columns where you have cells, and in each cell you can fill the required values either manually, automatically, or based on the table. Like a lot of things get automatically populated. So now, how to get started or how to start a table? We can click on the table type on the annotation toolbar. I have customized my annotation table toolbar to put the various drawing tables which we are going to discuss today. There are like to discuss today are the ones which are often used by the industry. Or if you don't have it on the annotation toolbar, you can go to insert tables and select the required table type. You can also, when you are in a drawing mode, so you can also right click anywhere on the sheet, and on the right click also you can find the desired table. So let's start the SolidWorks. Okay. So is the SolidWorks screen visible?
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay, so and you can go to the tables, then you can select the different tables you want. You can also go to insert tables, and then you can select what different tables you want. So when we are working with bill of material, so we usually prefer to we need to select a view such that, or we can also, or let SolidWorks select the view itself. So it says select a view to specify the model for creating bill of material. Now, why it does that? Because SolidWorks doesn't know, like, if there are one assembly in the same file, or there could be multi-assembly in the same drawing. So it wants you to select which particular view or which particular model you want to create bill of material for. Secondly, there could be different views of the same assembly, but those views could be related to different configuration also. So let's select this view, and let's look at the options first, and then we'll proceed with the different table. So first of all, we need to select a table template. Right now, we'll be using the standard one. You can customize the bill of material template to your company needs or your company workflow, and you can add columns and their headings, or link them to various properties and other things. And you can save that template as the standard template. And whenever you create a new bill of material, SolidWorks will always show those columns which you have added. Then the second option is attached to an anchor point. So what we can do is we can specify a point in the drawing, and the bill of material will always start, or it will always position at that particular point. So I'm not using it at the moment. And then we have the option, like SolidWorks gives us 3 different options. One is the top level only. This means the component in the assemblies, whether they are sub-assemblies or they are parts, they will be shown whatever is available in the main assembly or the assembly for which we are creating the bill of material. So only those components will be listed in the bill of material. Second is parts only. So in this one, what SolidWorks does is it will automatically dissolve any sub-assemblies in the main assemblies, and it will only list the parts component in the bill of material. And then third one is indented, where what we can do is we can show the sub-components of an sub-assemblies into the bill of material, and we can select the numbering scheme. Either it could be a detailed numbering, it could be flat numbering, or it could be no numbering. So when we create this particular table, we'll look at it. Then if you have more than one configuration, you can select them over here. So what SolidWorks will do is, like, it will create a quantity column for each of the configuration, and for the configuration for which a particular component is not there, or it is suppressed for that particular configuration, it will put a dash over there in the bill of material. Then you have different options like display as one item number. So this is for the components where you have same components but having 2 different configurations. So it will list them as one item number. Or you can have configuration of the same part as same files, because you have different part numbers assigned to each configuration. So we should pick this option. And similarly, there are other options. Sometimes what happens is, like, you delete a particular component because that component is not required, but you do not want to remove it information from the bill of material, so that the person who is reading the drawing will understand that this drawing or this particular component has been removed. So we can select this option, and we can also use the strikeout. So SolidWorks will show that item in the list, but it will be striked out. So which will give the information to the next person that there has been a revision in the drawing and this particular component has been removed. Then we can change the numbering scheme from over here. Usually SolidWorks starts at 1 and then it increments by 1. But sometimes people say, like, we want to start at 10 and we want to start at 20. So you can change it over there. And You can also select this, that do not change item number. So it will not let you change the item number. And you can also select the particular layer. So we'll be talking about the layers and how it is helpful. If you want to create a different border and for the grid lines, you can use a different settings. And finally, you can set all the values to uppercase. So let's not check this box first, and we'll see how does this uppercase helps. So what I'll do is like I have set my option and then I'll click OK. And you can see that the heading is shown. It's showing BOM table. Now I have accidentally kept E as a in my template. I have accidentally kept E in the uppercase, and you can also see the descriptions are all in lowercase and there are a mix of cases, right? So what I'll do is like I'll select on the bill of material, go to the option, and I'll say all uppercase. Now, since everything is in uppercase, it looks really good, right? So what we can do is, if required, we can add more columns by clicking insert column left or right. If we right click on the row, then we'll get the option of adding a row as well. Then we can lock the column width and height, or we can lock the entire table. So this particular table is referring to the top level assembly only, where it is listing different components. And component number 7, it is a sub assembly. So instead of listing its parts, only the sub assembly is being listed. Right now, let's look at another table type. So I'll go to right click, bill of material, I'll say parts only. And now what it has done is, instead of listing the crank subassembly as one component, it has listed its parts with the desired quantity. And then let's look at the third one, which is indented. And in this, we have 3 different options. One is no numbering. So no numbering will be there. Then we have detailed numbering, where it will list out 1 to 7 components. And then after 7, it will mention the part number as 7.1, 7.2, 7.3, because they are subcomponents for the crank subassembly. And then you have a flat numbering, where it will list all of them as flat numbering. So let's go for the detail numbering. Okay. And so you can see that after 7, because 7 is in subassembly, it is showing rest of the component as 1.2.3. Now we can change it to flat. So now instead of 7.1, 2, and 3, it has listed them as 8, 9, and 10. And when you say no numbering, so what it will do is it will just number these, but it will not number these components. What we can also do is we can right click anywhere on the cell, and we can, if the drawing is available, we can open the drawing for that particular component, or we can open that part or the subassembly directly from the bill of material. One thing, if you want to look at how the component is looking without opening the bill of material, just click on this particular arrow, and then once you take your pointer onto that particular item, it will give you a little preview of that particular component. And in case you want to hide this header, you can just click on these 2 arrows. So this is how it will look like when you hide the arrow. If you want to make any changes, for example, I said bill of material table intended. So I can change the header. And in case, let's do in this one. So in case I want to add few more information, so I can just right click, I will say column right, and then you can pick what exactly you want to show over here. So let's go for a custom property, And in the drop down, I will again select description just for the sake of showing it. Or we can also pick SolidWorks title, for example. No, sorry, description. So it will fill those property values into the bill of material. I remember in one of the sessions, someone was asking how we can have a parts or a component dimensions available into the bill of material. So what we need to do is, let's open this one. And so let's assume, let's check what is the size. This is 3.75 by 3.45. So let's assume it will give any value. So I'll put custom property size, sorry. And I'm just giving a random size right now. So 100 into 75 into 10, right? So I'll save this file, go back to the SolidWorks, and I will change this column to the size. So I'll click on column property. I will pick size. So because we have not defined the size property for the other components, it is not showing. So this is how you can link a bill of material column to a particular custom property or configuration property. We can also do equations. We can also do equations over here. So what I'll do, let's assume every component costs 400 USD. So let's put an equation over here. So I'll say column quantity into 100. So you can see that for the quantity of 1, the value is 100, and for the quantity of 2, the value is 200. So this way, what you can do is, if you have a cost value defined for each particular component, and then you want to multiply the value of that particular component with the required quantity of that component, you can put an equation, and whenever the quantity changes or the cost changes, so this value will get automatically updated. Any questions on the bill of material before we jump on to the next one? Okay, I'll move on to the next one. So next one is cut list table. Now, what exactly is cut list table and why it is used? Cut list table is mainly used for the welded components. And when we say cut list, it's basically a table that gives us information like what is the length of each profile you need, which is used to make this particular weldment. And if there are any angular cuts, then what is the angle value for those particular cuts. Now, in this particular component, we do not have any angle values, I believe. These are there. So let's see. And then we are basically looking for the length so that I can give that information to my purchaser and he can arrange the raw material for making this frame. So the procedure is same. You can click on the view first, and then you can click on the weldment cut list, or you can right click on the view. You can go to tables, and then you can pick weldment cut list, or you can go insert tables and weldment cut list. You can also assign it to S shortcut key, and you can customize over here. Like I have tables over here. So just like bill of material, you can define a table template, and by default or by program, SolidWorks will always look for as welded configuration. And if it is not available, then only it will take the available configuration. Rest of the options are same. I'll keep it all uppercase. I'll click OK. So now what it is in the what information it is giving? It is giving the item number so that we can correlate to the item number. Then it is giving quantity for each of the member, their description along with the size, because that's how we have defined the description property for those members, and the final length for each member. Similarly to bill of material, we can I think we can add more columns over here, and then we can add these details if we want. Over here, like quantity is already there, right? So we can also look at, say, description or angle 1. So I added angle 1, right? So it means it is giving 45 degrees. So this is particular for these components where it is giving me the different angle values. So similarly, you can add more details and you can customize the templates to your needs. And most of the options will be same except for the configurations and layers. We will be talking in the layer, so and how they will be helpful. So we'll be talking about how we can set the tables to a particular layer. Any questions on the Wildman cut list? Okay. One more thing I would like to tell you. So let me open up the model and let me delete this. And I will delete this as well. So no, it is just creating. I'll delete. Many times users complain that they have added the cut list, but nothing is being shown in the table, and they just get the top header row or just this particular row. So if this happens, you need to go to the part and you need to switch to the as welded configuration if it is available. And if it is not available, so whatever configuration is available, you need to go to that particular configuration. You need to make sure that your cut list is updated, or you can set it to update automatically. So in case you delete it, SolidWorks will recreate it again, and then only your cut list table will be populated into the drawing. So this is very critical, and we have to make sure that whenever this issue rises, we have to make sure that Wildman cut list has been updated into the model. Now, next one we talk about is hole table. So, and why it is used. So let's do the positional dimensions of these holes with a journal layout or journal method. So which is actually doing a dimension. So usually we do it like this, or maybe then we can do a chain dimension, for example. And right, this is how we will do it. And then we'll use a call out to define the whole size, right? So sometimes it is okay, but sometimes it clutters the drawing and making it a very difficult to read. So what to do in this particular condition? So SolidWorks gives you another table type, which is called hole table, right? So let's look at it. So we'll click on the face. You can click it later on also, and then you click on hole table. So again, you can define the template type. You can also define the anchor point if you have defined the anchor point in your drawing template, and then you can give the options for the tag. This option might not be available in older versions of SolidWorks. So we have X and Y, then we have reduced toolpath, which means SolidWorks will try to reduce the movement of the tool when we are doing this. And then we have radial, which is helpful when you have a circular plate with the holes on it. And then it asks you to define what is my 0 point for the start, right? So I'll select this point as my start. You can also define X and Y axis if you want by selecting the edges or some reference entities available. Then we can also include the non-circular holes, or we can also include slots. We can start the tag type at ABC. Usually people prefer ABC. We can also start at 1, 2, 3, and or we can also put the manual edges and faces to preview the tags. So we'll stick with ABC, and rest of the things are common. We can also club views. So now SOLIDWORKS has defined the tags based on our settings, and it has given us the location for each point with respect to our 0. So let's verify them as well. So my X is 32.26 and my Y is 50.8, which is being defined over here. And my whole size of for particular this particular tag is it's 11 through with a counter bore of 18 to a depth of 10. So if we have different holes available on the same face, then SolidWorks will list them as different holes while keeping the tag and while giving us the required information. So this look, with the help of whole table, the drawings looks neater because you don't have to put any dimensions over here. And if you move your holes to a different location, then the whole table will get updated. And we can also club. So once the same sizes, so we can club the same sizes if you want, right? And then we can reverse the call out order. We can also switch the near and far side messages if there are countersunks on or chamfers on the either side. And then we can the drill sizes as well if we want. So since this is a metric and this is not showing, and we can also club the same tag because the holes are all same. It will combine them, but then it takes off the tags. So let's keep them separate, right? Any questions on whole table, or can we jump on to the next one? Okay, let's go to the revision table. So revision table, as the name suggests, is basically to keep a track of the revisions which are happening in your drawing. And with the help of this particular table, you can track what changes have been made to the drawing or to the model with respect to its previous form or previous revision. So you do not need to select any views in this particular case. You just click on revision table, select your template, and then you can select what kind of shapes you want. Like some people prefer to have a triangular shape to define their revision. Some prefer to have an hexagon shape or round shape, right? So rest, you can look at the options, which is border, layers, and again uppercase. So this is how it will look like. You can change the header if you want, and to add the revision, you can just click on add revision, right? So because we have set the circle as revision, so we can define, we can write whole size changed, for example, and I can put my initials over here. So it's taking the date. So this is how you can define, and it's this particular note or revision symbol is an optional. Some people prefer it and some don't want it. With the revision symbol in the drawing, it makes it easier for the user to find where exactly the change has happened, right? And you can keep on adding more revisions. For example, I can add over here, and I can say thickness updated, for example. So based on the requirement, you can change the description, right? You can also link and because it is a multi-sheet drawing. So, and we are on sheet 4. So SolidWorks will automatically create this property sheet 4. And why it is doing it? Because in the document properties under tables, revision table, we have set it to use an independent. So if we say sheet 1, so then in that case, the main revision table will be on the sheet 1, and subsequent sheet will have a description which will be saying see sheet 1. Then we can keep them linked. So we can keep them linked to the sheets. So if you make change and on one sheet, so the sheet will get updated. And then we can use independence, which means previous 3 sheets will have a different revision table with respect to this particular sheet. So you can make the changes you want in your revision table. You can change the format. You can make it bold if you want. Oh, sorry. You can make it bold, italics, and then you can save the revision template. You can also put a zone. So zone basically indicates like, for example, this is my F8 zone, and this is my E7 zone, or this is F7 zone, this is F8 zone. So some people prefer to have zones in the revision table, so such that the user can find out which particular area in the drawing the revision is related to. So instead of the revision symbol, they prefer to add zone. And finally, we'll be moving on to the journal table. Now, journal table, as the name indicates, it's a journal table just to write any information, any particular information you want, which is not related to revision, whole table, or cut list, or bill of material. So it's like creating a table, like we create tables in our Word file or in other files. So if you want to use any particular template, you can use that. And then you can define how many columns you want. I will say 3 columns and 4 rows. And then you can set the border and the layers. We'll say all uppercase. And now you can start adding. So test, date, rev. So test, for example, I can say 1, date, we can put today's date, and then rev. So this way you can add any information, or you want to show some information in tabular format, but you want to manually write all the information, then you can create a journal table and add your information to that. You can also link a particular column with respect. It's not showing. Okay. So you can also you can hide or reverse the column. Like I wanted the table header to be on the top or to be on the bottom. So we can do that. We can do this thing for any particular tables you want. And then we can do merging of the tables. For example, I want to merge these 2 cells into one. So I say SolidWorks meeting. So you can customize your table and you can fill the information which you want to give in a journal way. Right. Any questions on any of the table we have discussed, or we can otherwise jump on to the next topic. Maybe if you can type in the chat if you want to. Or let me close it, and we can, or let's do one thing. Let's take all the questions at the end of the presentation. So I'm just closing the files. And so next one is ballooning. So ballooning is linked with the tables, and let's see how ballooning can help. So ballooning we use to label our parts, and we can use an item number, or we can show a particular property linked to that particular component. We can click on the balloon icon, which is there on the annotation toolbar. And if it is not available, you can always customize it and add it to your annotation toolbar. You can also insert it from the annotation menu. So let's quickly look at one of the drawing. So in this particular drawing, I want to do a balloon with respect to my bill of material, and I'm using a parts only bill of material. And what I have is an exploded view and isometric view. So we have basically two different ways to do a balloon. One is a manual balloon and one is an auto balloon. So first we'll look at a manual balloon method. I'll click on balloon and select my component. So by default, SOLIDWORKS tends to give you the item number, but you can customize if you want. For example, if you want to show the part number of that component, right? Or you want to show the file name, or you want to show a different custom property, or any text, for example. So you can customize your balloon, and you can also customize the shape. You can also make it triangular, a diamond shape, pentagon shape, underline. So you can customize your balloon format the way you want. Usually I've seen user tends to put just the item number because that's make it easier for them to correlate the components with respect to the balloon. So I'll delete it. And I have seen them doing manual ballooning only, but we'll also look at the auto balloon. So we click on auto balloon. So it says select a view where you want to insert the view, balloons. So you click on that, and then SOLIDWORKS give you 6 different types to arrange your balloon. First is all up, then we have all down, then left, right, square, and radial shape. So based on your requirement, you can have them in the desired pattern. And if you are not using circular layout for the balloons, let's use a square one, then you get an option of magnetic lines. So, and when you move one balloon, right, or when you try to move the magnetic line, the balloon is linked with that magnetic line. I'll show you, and then it will move along with that line, which means they will be all the balloons on that particular magnetic line will be linked with respect to their positions. And then if we want to show quantity as well, we can click on the quantity, and SOLIDWORKS will list quantity next based on your selection. So it only gives you 4 different options. One is left, right, up, and down. So based on your requirement, you can change the position of the quantity. You can change the denotation for that particular thing, depending on what is the company standards. And then you have layer and frame style and the leader style. So I'll tick off the quantity for now and click OK. Now each balloon is an individual item, but when we were there in the command, they were acting as one. Now let's try to move this magnetic line, and you can see, because you can see a U icon over there, which is representing a magnet, and the balloons are linked to that particular magnet point. So when you move the magnet line, all the balloons linked to that balloon or that magnet line will move along with the line, and hence they will be kept in the same layout or same orientation. Sometimes users complain that all of my balloons are showing as just one quantity. Let me show you why. So what happens is, when you have more than one bill of material in the table, or right? So SOLIDWORKS is not able to decide which particular bill of material I want to refer to. So in that particular case, what you need to do is you need to click on right click on the view, go to the properties, and then you need to select this option, which is link balloon text to specified table. Now, to explain this, what I'll do is like I'll add one more bill of material over here. Right now, let's see. Now we'll change it to a different bill of material. So everything is good, but now these three components, they are showing 7 because they are part of the crank subassembly. And sometimes happens is like when you sometimes every item is being listed as 1. So in this case also, that case also, you can right click, go to the properties and select this option and select the desired bill of material. So these are the two common methods of doing a balloon in a drawing. One is the manual balloon, and then second is an auto balloon. Now we have one more option. It's called stacked balloon. Now, why stacked balloon is used? Stacked balloon helps us in two ways. One, it helps us to minimize the clutter on the drawing. So let me bring it back, the 3 balloons. And it also helps us to combine or group components which go together. For example, a nut, bolt, and a washer. So because they go in a group, right? So instead of ballooning each item as separate item or separate balloon, we can combine them in one stacked balloon. For example, these three components make one sub-assembly, right? So what we can do is we can do a stacked balloon, right? So I started with this component, and then whatever component you want to add to the stack, just click on that, and then that component will be added. We can, oh, sorry. I think I moved this accidentally to up. Okay. And then we can arrange them or how we want it, left, right. Right. If we want to show the quantity as well, we can show the quantity. If we want to add more balloons to the stack, or we want to remove them, we can just simply remove. So you can see that instead of having like 3 balloons, we have just 1 balloon. And we can also make one existing balloon as stack. So right click, and then you click on add to stack. So I'll remove this. I think I moved this one up as well. I will add to stack, and so I delete this and this. So for situations like this, stack balloons also help us in removing the clutter from the drawing, and it also help us to let the person reading the drawing knows that these 3 items or these 4 items or these 5 items, they go in a group. For example, we talked about a bolt, washer, and a nut. So with that stack balloon, the shop floor people or the person who's going to do the assembly will immediately know that these 3 items will go in a group, and he cannot miss any one of them. I'll move on to the next one. Multi-sheets. Like when we were doing, when we were looking at a different table, so you could have seen that I have different sheets or multi-sheets in the same drawing. So now multi-sheets basically are when we have more than one sheet in one particular drawing, so we call them multi-sheets, and they help in various way. So we can either have different views on different drawing sheets because you don't have space on one sheet, or you want to show different details of each component on separate sheets. So yeah, in a small, I would say, like if you have a small sheet because your company doesn't want to use a bigger sheet, or your company standard does not allow you to use a bigger sheet, you can split a drawing into 2 sheets or multi-sheets depending on the requirement, because everything doesn't fit in one sheet. And it is also recommended not to put too much of detail in one sheet, but also not to have like half details over here, half detail over here, and half detail in a different sheet. So you have to uh, uh, do a planning of how you want to use the sheets. So there are two methods of putting sheets. So it's like one, you can right click on an existing sheet and then click add sheet. You can also click on insert menu and click on the sheet, right? So let's look at how we can have multi-sheets and how they can be helpful. So we have this sheet with the balloons and everything, and now we want to show more details of the assembly or the components on next sheet or various sheets. So there are what you can do is like you can go and insert and you can do a sheet. You can also copy and paste a sheet. So I can do copy and then paste, and then SolidWorks will ask you where you want to place that sheet. I'll say move it to the end. And what SolidWorks will do is like it will create a copy of the same sheet which we have copied, right? So if you want to use the same sheet and you just want to give more details in that, or if you want to have a different sheet, let me open just one component over here. Or let's delete these views, this bill of material, and let's open this assembly. So we have this assembly open and we want to show more views of this assembly in this particular drawing. But as you can look at the drawing, we do not have that much of a space. So the first option what user do is like they will reduce the scale and try to fit everything in one sheet. So instead of that, what they can have is they can add one more sheet, and then we can insert, let's insert 3 standard views, right? And we'll change the view, right? I'll delete this view just. So now we have another sheet, and we can easily give, for example, we want to give an overall dimensions, right? And we also want, say, for example, we also want to show a section view from here. So let's go to the section view. Select the desired options. And then you can see we don't have a space to put this view on this particular sheet. So maybe we can try to do some kind of adjustment by moving the views. But still, this is not looking nicer, and it looks like we are giving too much of information in the same sheet. So what we can do is we can add one more sheet, and we can move this particular view to a different sheet, which will make it look clear. And when we move the view from one sheet to another, like in this case, we are talking about moving section views, it will be linked to its parent. So if we make any change in the parent, the section view will get updated. Now, when we did a copy and paste of the sheet, the same format came, which is same as sheet 1. But when we did an insert sheet of like sheet, or when we right click and we did add sheet, a different format was coming. This is because we have told SolidWorks that whenever we do an add sheet, right, a different sheet format should be used. and you can find that options in over here. So you go over here, then you go to drawing sheet, and I have defined a A4 size sheet whenever I use a new sheet. So in like many companies or many users I've seen, so they will have first sheet as a different format. For example, they will have all this title block and everything available. And when they go to subsequent sheet, this title block will be minimized and it will be just showing a drawing number up over here. So if I have to edit, for example, what I mean to say is, I have accidentally deleted the line, but I just wanted to show you. So a very minimized or a very minimized information is available in the subsequent sheet, because they want the user to always refer to the sheet one for all the desired information. So like this, you can create different short sheet formats, and you can tell SolidWorks to use a particular sheet format when you add a new sheet. You can always change a sheet format by right-clicking properties, and then you can browse to your desired sheet format as well. I'll close this file. And we'll move on to now moving views. Like we were talking in the multi sheets, like that we can move the views from one sheet to another while keeping them linked, so that we can have our drawings look cleaner and easier to read. And why we generally do that? Because we don't have space on the sheet. So one way is we can do a Control X, which is shortcut for the cut, and then we can go to the desired sheet and do a paste. This sometimes doesn't work for all the views. So if I'm not sure on like what are the reasons, like SolidWorks does not allow you do a cut and paste for all of the views or all of the items. But in case SolidWorks is not able to do it, it will give you a prompt that it cannot do it. So in that particular case, the easiest option is you can just simply drag the view into the feature manager onto the desired sheet. Now, in this particular case, what we have is we have an isometric view and 3 standard views of an assembly, and we want to create more views for this assembly so that we can give clarity to our assembly people or the assembly shop floor people. And we have already added one sheet over here. So let's create one section view. I will add one detail view. Though we can adjust them somewhere over here, but it doesn't look like, it doesn't look nice when we do that. So let's move the views one by one. So, and we will see both the options of using both the different methods of moving the views from one sheet to another. So let's do, I'm just click on the view and pressing Control X. So when we do that, SolidWorks assume that we are deleting the view. So we can say yes. Then we go to the desired view, click on the sheet, and we do Control V. So the view has been moved. And when we say jump to the parent view, it will automatically come to the sheet one or whatever sheet the parent view is at. So the views are linked. And for example, if I change, let's change the sketch. So I'll remove it and I'll make it from here. Now, what will happen to our sectional view? It has been updated. So earlier we were going through approximately to the center of the assembly, and now we have shifted the arrows toward right. So our view has updated. Now, this is one method of moving the view. The other method is looks like it is going to crash. Let me re-add this view. Okay. So I'm just adding one quick tail view. Yeah. Okay. Now, what you like, keep the sheet active from which you want to move the view. Just select the view and drag over to the sheet on which you want to move the view. Now, when you do that, SolidWorks will place the view in the same exact location um, where it was on the existing sheet. So it has kept it over here. And in case you want to move it back to the sheet, you can again do the same method. You can do just simply drag. So it will move back to the same position, which it was originally on the sheet from which it has been moved. So this way, you can move your views and make your drawings look neater and clean and make it easier to read. And you can also include more information by adding more sheets and then keeping your view linked. Notes. Notes are very helpful in the drawing. They help us to provide journal information or a particular set of information to the person reading the drawing. And the notes can be related to the complete drawing, or they could be related to a particular component. They could be related to some kind of a testing, or some kind of welding information, or some kind of journal notes like remove all sharp edges, for example, or this particular part needs to be plated to a certain thickness. So that way, the notes are helpful where we can use them to our needs and provide the required information to the person. We can also put the notes into our library, and instead of typing them every time you make a drawing, you can just drag and drop them from your library. We simply click on the note icon and just start writing like we type in a Word file. So we can click on the note icon, or we can have it from the annotation toolbar. Oh, sorry, the annotation menu. Now let's try to add a few notes over here. So one option is like you go to the annotation toolbar and you click on note. You can also right click annotation and you can select the note, or you can go insert annotation and note, or you can have it customized over here. So let's do a customization over here. I'll right click, customize. I'll go to the annotation and I can just simply add it over here. Okay. So you have different methods to do it. You can also assign a shortcut to your keyboard or to your mouse gestures as well. So depending on your workflow or your usage of SolidWorks, or how you have customized your setting, SolidWorks gives you different ways to customize your interface, which helps you to be more productive. I'll use that shortcut key. I'll start. You can define, I want to keep it all uppercases, and then you can define the border. You can use the word wrap, or you can, we'll also talk about a few in Windows. In Windows tools, you can do F7. So SolidWorks use the same method. You can do the spell check, and it says this is wrong. I'll say add it and then ignore. So we want to use correct word, so you can change. And so this is one way to do the notes. We can also link a note to a particular custom property. Let's add it over here. I'll add a note, and then you click on link to property. You go to the model found over here, go to the drop down, selected component. So I have selected a component. It is a crank arm, and then I can do, for example, description. Sorry. So it will show, because we are treating it as a sub-assembly, it is showing the description for the complete sub-assembly. Then we can do, we can also add symbols to the note if we want. For example, I want to add a plus minus sign or a dia sign. I can do that. And like I said, you can always keep the annotation or particular notes in your library and you can use them. Then you have different options for the arrows, for the directions of the arrows, or for the justification where you want to keep it. Let's add test. Now, because we have the justification to the bottom, it is always going to the bottom. If we keep it in the middle, it will go to the middle. And if we keep it to the top, it will keep top. Then you have option to underline without leader, and then left or right. So similar way, you can also do. So depending on the need, right? So you can set the leader's type and leader style for the notes. And you can also put borders if you want. So it also gives you options for the border, for circular, and then you can design one character or maybe like a tight fit, a word wrap, right? Then you can decide size of the rectangle in which you want to do the wrapping of the words, and so that the words don't go beyond that. You can do that. And so, SOLIDWORKS also gives you option to do a pattern of the notes. One is the linear pattern, and second is the circular pattern. So let's look at that. So let's add one note. We'll say this is linear pattern. Now I'll click on the linear pattern, and just like the sketch pattern, SOLIDWORKS gives you options to do a linear pattern of the notes in X and Y direction. I'll just make it 50 or maybe 100, and then for Y-axis, I define the direction as 25, and then okay. So this is helpful when you want to put a series of notes, but you want to place them at certain distance or from each other. So that way, what you can do is you can just create one note and do a pattern, and then you can change the value. For example, I'll make it pattern -1. I'll make it -2. Similarly, you can do change in the notes, but because we have done a pattern of it, they are at a specified distance. But unlike sketch pattern or feature pattern or compound pattern, we cannot change the value of the pattern value, which means I can just take it and move it along. So SOLIDWORKS just creates a copy and then it breaks the link with the parent pattern. And let's do a linear pattern as well. Oh, sorry, the circular pattern. I have not found a case of using a circular pattern, but for example, if you want to place some tags or some text around a circular plate into a drawing, so instead of like eyeballing where exactly each text will come, you can use the circular pattern node. You can change the position where you want. You can define the other things like where the zero values, the radius values, and also the angle, and then you click OK. So now this point is of no longer, so you can delete it and you can just drag them away if you want. So this is a brief on how we can use the nodes, we can link them to a particular property, we can put them into a paragraph. We can also add symbols into this particular node. So I can say, I can add a symbol over here. So it's not like that you can just add it to one particular node. You can type them and just add wherever you want to. Moving on to the last topic for today is the layers, like the name suggests. So layers basically help us to organize our entities, objects into the drawings. We can control their colors, line type, line fonts, etc., depending on the object or the entity type, right? Many people request that they need layers in the model, but currently SolidWorks doesn't have any such options. It only provides layers in the drawing. Now for the layers, what we need to do is we need to open up the layer property manager, and then we can add a new layer. So this is similar to other tools as well, where we work with layers like draft site. So you need to open up the layer property manager in case you want to add a new layer, change its color and other properties. So now what we want is, with the layers, what we can do is, like, if we do not want to show a particular item, right, into a drawing, and we want to hide it from everywhere in the drawing, so we can put that component or onto a specific layer, and when we hide that layer or when we turn off that layer, that component will also get hidden, one thing. And layer also help us, like I said, you can change to a different line type, you can change to a different color. And SolidWorks also gives you an option that in case you do not want a particular item which is on a specific layer to be printed, so we can turn that printing off as well. So to put anything on the layer or to create a new layer, we need to go to the line format toolbar. We click on layer properties manager, and you can see by default there will be always one layer named format. And let's create a new layer. I will say table, and I'll change the color to red. Okay, another layer, and I will say notes. I will change the color to little green. New layer, wheel, I'll make it blue. So what we have done is, like, we have defined 3 new layers, and the arrow indicates which is the active layer. I'll make the format as active layer by double clicking on it. Okay. Now we have been seeing layers in all previous topics which we have discussed today. I'll move it back up over here. So you click on the table, you go to the layers and you select table. So because the layer color was red, the color of the table has changed to red. You can also right click and change layer. So from table, I can want to notes as well. So either you can go to the property manager for the table, or you can also change it by right click. For notes also, let's change it on the right click, change layer, and move them to notes, because now the color has changed. And we can also put components on specific layer. So let's move this wheel on a specific layer. So right click on the view, go to component, line font, uncheck use document default, right? So SolidWorks gives you 2 different options, like if you want to apply it to all the views or just the selected view. I'll keep it all views and I'll make it wheel. Okay. Now, because I have set the component on the layer and I have selected all views, the color has been changed to all of the views. Now let's try to turn off the layer. Now what has happened is, because I could have multi-sheet drawings and the wheel could be visible on different sheets, and instead of like finding which particular views and which particular sheets, the wheel is being shown, I can just put it on a particular layer and simply hide it. Let's bring it back. I can also try to change it. Oh, sorry. Let's see why it is not. I can change the light style over here. So for components, if I'm changing the line type in the layers property manager, it will not change. But for other entities, yes, it will change. Right? So if I want to show it in a phantom format, I can do it that. And if you want to like take it off, right click again, go to the component line font and just set it to use document default, and it will be back to normal. And if you set the printing to off, so whenever I print this drawing, these notes will not be printed because I have told SolidWorks not to print this particular layer. So anything on this particular layer will not print. And what we can also do is, instead of like changing the layer after creating the objects, we can go to the document settings. And for example, if you want to create a layer for the bill of materials, so that every time when you create a drawing, it should come on that layer. Provided that layer is already there in the drawing template, you can just set it over here. For views also, you can set each particular view to its own layer. For example, I want it to in table view, detail view, I want it to be in notes view, for example, section view, I want it on the wheel view. So orthographic, you cannot change, and others you cannot change. And tables you can change. Like let's try with this one. So I'll put it on the wheel. And let's add one revision table. Yeah, it's not showing the layers. So similarly, we can use layers in a very productive way. And there is one more advantage of using layers is a lot of people work with DWG or DXF files, and they want things to be in different layers so that it makes them easier to read the drawing. So using layers, you can do that. And when you export your files to DWG or DXF formats, layers will be exported and the entities will be kept based on how you have set them on the layers. So with that, we come to the end of today's presentation. So I would be happy to answer any questions. And other than that, I will be very glad to have the feedback on today's sessions and the sessions which we have conducted previously regarding the drawing tools. So we have an open mic now, and that's my Gmail address in case someone wants to reach out to me. And I can be found out on different social media with the handle name of Gupta9665. I would also like to thank you everyone for attending today's meeting. It was great honor to be part of the SWUG group and present and share my knowledge. So I'll close off the presentation and jump to the SolidWorks. So and we can have questions. So I'm open to questions. So if